Hello, everyone from the farms of Delaware. This is the Talking Yugioh show. The monologue is fitting for the melancholy weather outside because it's a little bit of a ranty, annoyed monologue. And I am going to talk about why 2025 has been the worst year ever for Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime fans. And let me say this. I know it's very easy to make this claim and for people to be like, well, yeah, that's obvious, right? There's no Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime existing. But it goes way beyond that. Okay? It's not just about how there's no weekly Yu-Gi-Oh! In fact, I've got a bunch of things I want to talk about. No weekly Yu-Gi-Oh! Isn't even on this list. That's obviously a huge thing. It's one of the biggest elements of why 2025 has just been such a brutal year for Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime fans. But there are so many disappointing, underwhelming things that have happened this year. It's unbelievable. I've been making content for over 10 years now in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime space, and there have been some rough points for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. The end of Arc 5, there were people that I was very close with during Arc 5 that I have not spoken to since the end of Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. Okay? Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains getting cut 6 months early, and then the announcement coming that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is going to switch to Rush. It's going to switch to a totally different look, a totally different style, a totally different game. Just like the Arc 5 ending was a mass exodus for a lot of fans, that was also a mass exodus for a lot of fans. And then you had the COVID years where we lost 10 episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. Like, there have been some bad moments for Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime fans, but 2025 has been bad moment on top of bad moment on top of bad moment. And it starts with Gor Rush. One of the first episodes we get in the year 2025 for Yu-Gi-Oh! Gor Rush, in what was a pretty underwhelming final arc, was the Gakugen episode. And I believe that episode just set the tone for the kind of crappy year us Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime fans were going to have. That, to me, is one of the worst episodes in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! I cannot tell you how much I hate that episode. And that set the tone. And you know what? The Gor Rush ending episode was really good, but there were certainly things in that Gor Rush final arc that I thought were a little underwhelming. Not getting Otis's identity, I think, was a big missed opportunity. I know there's people that hate the final season of Gor Rush, especially that final arc. I don't hate it, but I didn't think it was the best. And so I think that the content we got for Gor Rush wasn't incredible. I don't think it was that bad, but it wasn't incredible. I think Gor Rush had a fine ending, all things considered. But that was probably as good as it gets for Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime fans. In my opinion, that was as good as it gets. Because there was another big thing that got announced at Jump Festa, and I'm not talking about the lack of a weekly Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime for the first time ever. I'm talking about the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Remaster. And when this gets announced, Twitter goes nuts. And I'm not talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! Content creators. I'm not talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! People. I'm talking about general anime fans. Woo! When this news broke on Twitter, the amount of people and the amount of tweets that I would see on a regular basis leading up to the release of the GX disaster. GX is getting another season. My life has been complete. Unbelievable stuff. And this is what we get. And I waited a little bit. I didn't want to come out roasting the remaster. I wanted to wait, and I wanted to see if maybe they were going to do it differently than what the DM remaster was. It's not. And my preferred way to watch the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime is not a crop job that cuts out the top of monsters or characters' heads. I just don't think that's incredible. Here's another great shot. And this is all from the first episode, by the way. I think we're 20 episodes through. I'm not even going to waste my time or your time going through all of these episodes and pulling more awful cropped images from this remaster. But this was the tweet. 1 million views, and please, if you can stomach it, go to the replies, go to the quote tweets. The amount of people when this was announced that were just overjoyed, over the moon. And I don't even blame people for doing that because, again, like I get it. You want to be excited about something, but like the amount of misinformation that came out because of this was just unbelievable. And keep in mind, if you don't want to hear it from me, how about you hear it from Takahiro Kagami, one of the greatest Yu-Gi-Oh animators, I would say, ever. This is what he said in 2020 about the DM remaster. But as expected, I wish they would broadcast it in its original form without tampering it. When Yu-Gi-Oh! DM was broadcasted as a digital remaster, the rebroadcast itself was appreciated, but they cropped the top and bottom of the 4x3 standard size, so it felt like the layout became narrower. Then there were also some cuts where the image looked rough. You know, if one of the best animators that worked on your product is speaking out against the remaster that you did for DM, maybe we should think about how to properly honor Yu-Gi-Oh! GX's 20th anniversary, because that's what this was all about. It was honoring Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. How about you do a 20-minute OVA? How about you do a GX movie? How about you bring the GX manga to life? You know, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited to see if it was really going to be as bad as the DM remaster. It is. Simple as that. And it's unfortunate. Something else that was announced at Jump Festa was the Chronicles. And the Chronicles, much like the end of Gor Rush, hasn't been like, I wouldn't say it's been awful, but I do believe it's been too infrequent and too short. And I think most people would agree with that. I know there are a select few people that are very, very content, think the Chronicles is awesome, think it's perfect where it is. I just think this is a product that needs to be more frequent or longer. And the Sky Striker portion, which, by the way, that is 50% of the Chronicles at the time of recording this, was not even worth watching. So 50% of this anime has not even been worth watching. But that said, I think they're on the right track. Still too infrequent to get really excited about. But the Chronicles has been okay. I still think a little bit underwhelming because of just how short the episodes have been. And then I want to turn to the card game side. And again, the list goes on and on and on about 2025 and why it's been just miserable for Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime fans. Remember the Animation Chronicles set? Remember the Animation Chronicles set? It used to be the Collector's Pack, I believe. And I believe the Collector's Pack ran before the Animation Chronicles. But for those that don't remember what this set was, and this is a thumbnail that, you know, I made a couple years ago, predicting what was going to come out in 2024. What this set was is it gave the opportunity to anime exclusive decks to come out, to come to the game so that we could play them in Master Duel, so that we could play them in Duel Links, so that we could play them at locals. Animation Chronicles, a set that's ran for at least 10 years if you can include the Collector's Pack, always came out in May or June. It is August, and this seems to be a set that Konami has completely done away with. A set, probably the set, that gave the most love to anime cards and anime support. A set that has existed in some capacity for over a decade. Gone without a trace, without an announcement. And another body blow that Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime enthusiasts have to take. And maybe we get some solace in Duel Links, right? I mean, Duel Links was doing something cool with the Vrains crossover tease, right? And that Ghost Girl event ends with her saying to Akira, hey, I need you to find more information on this. And him saying, yeah, I'm going to look into it. Akira's Eyes and Unlock event gets announced a couple of months ago. And the real hope was that that event would be continued or at least mentioned. I mean, it's a big event. The last time we saw Akira in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains story, he was commenting on how the Vrains cast, including his little sister, saw Yugi, Yuga, Yusei, and I can go on. All the characters from the other shows. This event comes. Anime fans like myself get pumped. Nothing comes out of it. No mention of that storyline. Gone without a trace. And if you need to be reminded how long ago that was, that Emma Besso storyline was over 20 months ago. November 2023. It's done. It's done. They teased something that could have been absolutely incredible. Even if it was just a Duel Links event. Seeing the protagonists interact in Duel Links would have been amazing. And they do nothing with it. They do nothing with it. So it doesn't matter whether it's the card game. It doesn't matter whether it's Duel Links. It doesn't matter whether it's the GX remaster. It doesn't matter if it's the Chronicles anime. And it sure doesn't matter if it's the weekly Yu-Gi-Oh anime that's been nixed for the first time in 25 years. This has been the most brutal year across the board for Yu-Gi-Oh anime fans when it comes, of course, to the Yu-Gi-Oh spectrum. But there is hope. And you know me. Nick T's been friends with me for over 2 decades. I am an optimist. I think he's called me a pragmatic optimist. I'm an optimist by heart. And there's still hope for this year to be salvaged. Jump Festa is in 127 days. And in 127 days, in just over 4 months, the biggest anime announcement panel will take place. And a new show could be announced. And it could potentially salvage what has been the worst year, bar none, for Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime fans. I'm going to bring in Dak and Nick T here, because maybe I'm being a little dramatic, and if I am, I know these two will tell me. Dak, I'm going to start with you. You're someone who, your longevity has kind of matched mine in terms of being a part of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community. You were around live when Arc 5 was ending, when Vrains was ending, when 7th was announced. I would love to know your thoughts on my thoughts that this has just been a when you really contextualize it, a brutal, horrible year for Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime fans.
It's been a rough one. Yeah, it's definitely been a rough one for fans. On that wonderful sour intro. Hello. Hello, everybody. But no, it's been a rough one for sure. You know, definitely it's been a mixed year, not the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime kind of fan year. Obviously, like you said, you know, kind of the GX thing. I know we've kind of talked and joked about this one to death. You know, definitely it is a disappointing remaster. There's so many other ways they could have handled it, but they kind of went with the cheap corporate route, which is kind of what I expected. So many different things, a manga and adaptation, short little series like that. Could have done the movie that they kind of turned roughly into season 2, or at least kind of part of it, with the DM versus GX. I know people would have gone wild for something like that.
There were much better ways to honor that franchise.
100%. Definitely a lot of things that they could have done. Chronicles, I mean, we've talked about that to death. Too. I mean, there's not much more we can say about it. It's cool that it's getting. I mean, arguably it is getting better each episode. I will give it that. And then of course with Duel Links, I mean the lack of attention on the event itself really is unfortunate. I do think that is more just of it being a live service game at its core, kind of more than anything, and that it's a trickle feed. It's something where I don't think they're just done with the plot line. I mean, even with the America event, they kind of slightly still reference that somebody else is in control, somebody's doing something, So I mean there are still those hints and those elements, and I do think they are still building to something. But I mean, it's like I said, it's a live service style game, so it's going to be trickle fed, for a long time, across everything, and then finally we'll get an event, maybe,
hopefully. I mean, I don't know the level of confidence you have, but I mean, who the hell knows?
We'll see. Definitely been rough, but I do see the potential still in a lot of these areas with Yu-Gi-Oh! As a whole, especially the anime side, where it could still go and still come bounce back.
No, it's a really good point. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, the two statements here can be true. It's been a brutal year in 2025, but it doesn't mean that it needs to be the end of the chapter when it comes to the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, and hopefully it's not. But you know, it as the days turn to months, turn to hopefully not years, but like you know, this Jump Fest, I cannot overstate its importance for I think how a lot of people in this community are going to be able to stomach what is going to happen beyond Jump Festa. I mean, what do you make of it? I mean, you're not as like attached maybe on the Duel Links or the card side, but you've been watching weekly since 2018, 2017. So you've been watching weekly for the better part of a decade. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Well, I want to start with, I didn't realize, like, I knew obviously the subject matter, you know, you were for the monologue. I didn't realize how much ammo you were coming in with. I mean, man,
I put work into these monologues, man.
You do. It's just I didn't really consider how much there actually was, or how little, I guess, there actually was.
Right.
It doesn't feel great. Even regardless of like what I think is going to happen, you know, like I'm fairly certain that we will get a Yu-Gi-Oh! 9, whether it is weekly or seasonal or whatever it may be. I still think some kind of explanation, some kind of announcement of something on all of these points that we've pointed out is kind of owed to the audience. Because right now it's just feeling like Konami's trying to make the most money with the least effort. And not saying Chronicles is low effort, but it is so short format that it is less resources. And they're still trying to get people to watch. You know, they're dropping plot lines or like, you know, not paying attention to certain plot lines in Duel Links, but people are still playing it. So it's like all of these things seem like they still want to make the money. The GX remaster, crop job and AI upscale, and then people will watch. Low effort, maximize profits.
Not even releasing that one outside of Japan, which again we've talked about the isolation to the international.
And I mean
audience.
That's a whole other can of worms. It's just it doesn't bode well for a loyal fan base. So it's frustrating to say the least. Even with me not being particularly tied to the card game, to Duel Links, whatever, it is frustrating as someone who's watched, you know, weekly Yu-Gi-Oh! For the better part of a decade to have zero explanation.
You just watched one of the clips from my Talking Yu-Gi-Oh! Show, which airs every other Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you guys so much for your support. Please leave all your thoughts down below. Long live Yu-Gi-Oh! And I hope you have an amazing day. Take care, guys.